Okay, well here's about the half-assed Brewmaster guide for PvP in Dragonflight 10.0.5. Yes, I'm the psychopath that plays this, and yes, I hate everybody, so that's why I'm doing this. Anyways, real question is why would you want to play Brewmaster in PvP? And the reality is, if you enjoy it, you enjoy it. Play it if you want. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about this. If you don't like the spec, don't play the spec. If you don't like not being a carry, then definitely do not play Brewmaster because you aren't going to enjoy it. I mean, to jump right into it, we're just going to go through the talents. The talents aren't too difficult to understand, but it is what it is. So starting off with the monk talents, you have your basic stuff. I only really play one talent tree for the entire gameplay. I do change some talents around here and there depending on the situation, but it's super rare I actually do that. So first off, you just go with your standard 3 build. You kind of don't want this, but you don't really have it, and the big problem with Brewmaster right now is you have a lot of ability bloat, so having things like detox in your build can be very difficult to fit into your talents, and just in general, your abilities, like your ability hotbar, whatever you want to call it. So if you notice, even looking at my bar, you don't see Soothing Mist on it. I take it literally just because I have no talents to take, and I kind of want to take a few of these on the left side. But you take your first 3. Disable super important. This is actually a big thing and a very big buff for Brewmaster in Dragonflight. In the past, whenever I've tried to play it in arenas, you would never ever have this guaranteed slow on somebody, and it has the duration reset on melee attacks, so it is perfect. It's just like a Windwalker one, and it's very nice. In the past, you'd only have Keg Smash though, which is not ideal, especially if you run out of charges. Your talent's pretty cut forward though. You take Paralysis, you take Improved Paralysis. It's just the right side of the tree. Kind of just want to take it all. The only thing I do a little bit different than other people is I do take 1 point in Ferocity of Zuem. I don't really think that 2% extra damage is really required, and I just had a talent point I needed to float somewhere, so it's better than nothing. Port, pretty baseline. Obviously, you want to have your kick, and then you have Ring of Peace, Diffuse, and Dampen Harm as your major defensives and your major peels for your team with the Ring of Peace. You literally cannot take these. These are required 100% of the time. Prior to 10.0.5, I did take Deeper into the Tree in terms of Escape from Reality and Resonant Fists. But with the new changes and the nerf to Resonant Fists in 0.5, I kind of got rid of these and I floated them elsewhere. So as I said, 1 went into Eye of the Tiger, and 1 went into Save Them All with a few points floating around elsewhere. Eye of the Tiger is just kind of a nice passive buff, though I do wish they reverted it back to how it used to be, where you could just kind of have it on 3 people at once instead of just 1. But it is what it is. You do take Fast Feet. It should be self-explanatory. More RSK damage. Here you have a choice between Cheat Torpedo and Celerity. It's honestly up to your interpretation. I prefer Celerity with just due to how Brewmaster plays and how you want to space in arenas. I like having 15-second roll cooldown, but also having a 3rd roll. And then you have your choice between Expeditious Fortification and Iron Shell Brew. When I started practicing Brewmaster this expansion, I went Iron Shell Brew originally. I actually don't think it's bad, especially into melee comps. But I found that generally just having the shorter cooldown on your 4 brew is just, it feels nicer. On top of this, you do take your Touch of Death talent. It just lets you execute people. Very nice talent to have. You play it as literally every class, or every spec of Monk. And then most importantly, Strength of Spirit. This is the godsend of the class because you can keep yourself solo topped basically with just this talent alone. So you have no choice, you have to play this talent. I don't care how you get it, you take it. Now, you have some choices on the left side. I take Improved Roll, obvious reason. You get a 3rd roll. It's very nice to have 3. Tiger Tail Sweep, I'm still hit or miss on, but a 50-second leg sweep is nice. It's not ideal necessarily, but it's nice. Vigorous Expulsion, self-explanatory, just combos really well with Strength of Spirit. Extra healing, nice. Grace of the Crane helps a lot because if you do not know, Brewmaster takes 67% increased damage just like all tank specs do in PvP. It's an undocumented Dragonflight change, and god fucking damn it, this is painful. It's actually one of the reasons I recommend you don't play Brewmaster because it is so much damage incoming, which means so much healing needs to be taken, so you have to put talents into incoming healing talents. So you need Grace of the Crane, you need Save Them All. I do float some points down into Chi Wave. You have the choice. It doesn't really matter what you choose, but I find Chi Wave is actually really good into rogue games, or lobbies in solo queue, or in 3s, whatever you want to play Brewmaster in. Lets you get combat. Can't get sapped. It's very nice. Profound Rebuttal. If you crit on your expo harm, you're guaranteed to top yourself. Doesn't matter how many Ox Spirits you have, but it's very nice. It's close to heart, obviously, is just a very nice talent for your entire team. Everyone just takes more healing. Who the fuck cares? It's nice. And then, of course, Save them all. Self-explanatory. If you're below 35% health, heal yourself, you're going to be topped. It's just a nice combo into it. And that's basically the Monk talents. I don't really change anything, though I have floated the idea of removing Save them all and 1 point close to heart for Windwalking. Having 4% movement speed is just very nice. The only real reason I don't do this is simply because you can take speed enchants on your gear, which kind of subsidizates that. But this is kind of what your talent tree is going to look like. You can change some talents around, but I do not recommend going into your Vivify talents because you don't press Vivify enough for it to matter. Next we're going to go to the Brewmaster talents. 0.05 gave such a godly buff to Brewmasters with the talents. It freed up, I think, 5 talent points for us, which helps a lot getting some of those talents we normally would not have. So, Keg Smash, baseline, you have to have it. You have to take these because if you notice, you're going to have very few talent points below the cutoff, which is just along this 5th line. Quick Sip and Staggering Strikes just suck, so if you even look at those, you probably don't know how to play Brewmaster and I recommend you stop, or whatever. Shuffle is always really nice. You can dodge. It's actually something very important and very cool in PvP. You can dodge things like Sharpened Blade with Shuffle. And it helps so much. But the greater part is, if you get that lucky RNG, you can dodge kidneys. You can dodge anything. And for some reason, it actually bypasses Cheap Shot. So you can dodge a Cheap Shot because of Shuffle. I don't understand why, but yeah, it's pretty cool. Spirit of the Ox. This is what actually is super important to Brewmaster's healing. So whenever you RSK or you Blackout Kick, you have a chance to summon a Healing Sphere. It actually procs more based on your crits. So Healing Spheres are what you use with your Expo Harm. The more you have, the more you heal. Simple as it gets. And you do more damage based on that. Gift of the Ox is the same thing, but when you take damage instead. So Brewmaster likes to take damage. Stagger is really nice. Stagger's your baseline Brewmaster stuff now. And so you're going to be taking damage the entire time. Hit Scheme, so short and simple. Whenever you Blackout Kick, increase the damage of Keg Smash by 10%, stacking 4 times. The only thing that you might be taken a little off guard by is if with Shadowboxing Treads. It does not proc off of the cleave effects. So you actually have to spam Blackout Kicks before you even get a buff. Healing Elixirs, pretty straightforward. It's just a nice heal, 15% max health times 2, 30-second recharge. You're going to love it no matter what you do. Every spec kind of loves this. And then you have your choice here on a node. It's Special Delivery or Rushing Jade Wind. Normally, I would play Rushing Jade Wind, and honestly, I still kind of want to. The issue I have is that I have so many buttons to press, I don't want to add another in there. And on top of it, it breaks CC, so it's kind of a controlled disaster. So I do play Special Delivery, and one of the beautiful things about Special Delivery, which most people I don't think actually know about Brewmaster, is it procs off every brew, not just your 2 Celestial and Purifying Brew. Your Fort Brew will pop this. Your Bone Dust Brew will pop this. When you proc a Bone Dust Brew, it will pop this. It's not a lot of damage, but it does add up. We're going to go with the left side of the tree first because it's just simplest. So we have Graceful Exit. It's just a talent point filler, but it's nice to have just some extra movement speed after your Shuffle procs. It's cool. But you do have your Celestial Brew. Celestial Brew on its own, not the greatest. But that's why we take Improved Celestial Brew, because it does create the possibility of a 200% increased shield, which, if you don't know, 200% of 70k is a lot. And then of course we take Improved Purifying Brew. It gives you 2 charges Purifying Brew. You can use it for damage, or you can use it to live. It's your choice, really. And this is where Brewmaster becomes very broken. Well, maybe not broken is the right word, but it becomes very viable. So we take a Breath of Fire talents heavily here, and this is what makes Brewmaster really good, is just these 3 talents alone. So, Breath of Fire is your baseline. If you've played it at all, you know what it is at all. It's the exact same as it used to be. But now you have the choice node, Scalding Brew and Salsalabim Strength. This talent makes Brewmaster so good right now. You Keg Smash, you reset Breath of Fire, and we'll get into why that's really good later. But this is really good. And then Dragonfire Brew is going to be your next choice. It's just free damage, and if you're high on stagger for whatever reason, you're going to do more damage. So Dragonfire Brews can crit upwards of 15k each. It's a lot of damage. But we do take Bone Dust Brew here. Bone Dust Brew is really good. Obviously, it combos very well with Special Delivery, but just helps a lot. And you can proc a lot of this a lot of the time, generally, because you're cleaving a lot. So Breath of Fires can get you a lot of these. And now you have the choice of this capstone. You have Bountiful Brew or Attenuation. I'm kind of hit or miss on this. I personally play Bountiful Brew more than Attenuation, and the reason is just because I get special deliveries, but sometimes just procs at a good time. The downside of this talent is sometimes it procs at the exact same time you throw a Bone Dust Brew, and then you're just depressed because you've just wasted a cooldown. Attenuation, though, can help a lot, and I mean a lot, with bursting. You can theoretically one-shot somebody with Attenuation if the stars align. And it combos very well with Bone Dust Brew in general because you can reduce the cooldown on it a lot more than people really recognize. It pretty much sums up the left side of the tree. So, following down the right side, I do take Zen Meditation talents, and there is a reason for this. So, Zen Meditation on its own, as you can see, says 56-second cooldown. The actual base cooldown for this is 5 minutes. It's, on its own, pretty bad cooldown, because if you get hit, you know, it breaks. But that's why we take Fundamental Observation. Reduces that 5 minutes down by 25%, so you're taking about a minute, 15 seconds off with that. And now you can no longer break from auto attacks, but on top of that you can move, and that's much more important than people think, because there are times where I'm soaking damage in an arena with Zen Meditation, and me just moving out of line while soaking it completely screws everybody over because they can't stop me anymore. So this is a very good talent, and you could replace it if you don't really like Zen Meditation. You could go deeper down into high tolerance perhaps. Haste is really good as Brewmaster, but it's kind of up to you. I personally stick with the Zen Meditation. But this is a talent I like a lot. Clash, we got this back last expansion. I think it's one of the best talents of all time in the tree, but on top of this, it's very good for setting up, and it's deceptive how good it is, because there's a lot of bugs with it. It can work, it can not work. You can pull people to Africa, and you can also be pulled to Africa. It's a buggy talent, but at the same time, think of it as like charge from a warrior, but you meet halfway. And then you root things around you. It's very nice. It's a very good setup ability, and it works very well with Breath of Fire stuff. And then, of course, you have these talents here. You have Shadowbox and Treads, or Fluidity of Motion. It's really up to you. I personally say, because of our ability float, you do not want Fluidity of Motion. You don't have the time to really press Blackout Kick a whole hell of a lot. Shadowbox and Treads also is just more damage and cleave and gets melee. It's very nice. And then we take Facepalm. I like this talent, and I hate this talent. It is good and it's bad at the same time, because you don't really press Tiger Palm a lot, but when you do, if it procs, it helps a lot. Gets your brews off cooldown, does a bit of extra damage. It can help, but it's hit or miss. I really wanted to go into Counter-Strike, just because these two talents together work very well with Shuffle, but I don't really have the space for it in the build. Now, down the middle, we have Invoke Niozao. It's just kind of there because you need it. You don't really have a choice. You want to get these final rows, but nothing else is worth taking on the right and left, so you just take Invoke. He's good if you're trying not to die as well. You can use him as a defensive. He'll take basically 25% of your damage for you. Elusive Footwork, just more Blackout Kick damage, and yeah, it's not that great. It's not that bad. Now, this is a talent I'm hit or miss on as well, Blackout Combo. I personally loved this in past expansions, but now it's kind of just like, I don't have the time to set it up. But it can be nice. If you can Blackout Kick immediately into a Keg Smash, it just synergizes really well with your kit, so you take 2 seconds off of your brew cooldowns, and if you already don't know, Keg Smash alone already reduces them by 3, so if you can set that up...
Looks like you could all use some resources.
You can set it up and create 5-second reductions, and with how low your brew cooldowns are, it's very nice. It's nice, but it's also bad if you don't pay attention. Exploding Keg. This is my talent, my favorite of all time since Legion. I think this talent is goddamn amazing. This can completely screw over melee. If you use this properly, it will cuck them so hard. When they are hit by this, they cannot attack for 3 seconds. If they use Kidney Shot when they're exploding kegged, it will not go through. Kidney Shot will go off cooldown. It just annoys them. And it just becomes very nice. And on top of it, this is a new change in Dragonflight, is you do actually do more damage to them when they are exploding kegged. It's not a lot, 2,000 damage, but it's something. Against casters, and with attenuation, if you do take that over Bountiful Brew, exploding keg can be used for about a 120k burst. It's nice damage, very high CD, it's very nice. Well, this is the big thing that we really want as Brewmaster, Storm Stout's last keg. The damage isn't necessarily the greatest thing in the world, but you do get an extra charge of Keg Smash. Super nice bonus. And then with your final 2 talent points, it's very nice. You take Weapons of Order and Chi Surge. So Weapons of Order just helps you build up damage. It's a ramping talent, so you get a lot more damage the longer you use it and the better you play with it. And then Chi Surge is a nice burst cooldown on the spot. It's pretty much just the talent tree. I don't really change much. If you're going to change anything, you take out Face Palm or Blackout combo, and you maybe take something into High Tolerance, or you go a bit into the middle tree where you get like Tranquil Spirit and maybe training a Nayuzao. You could go Light Brewing, but I don't think that one's worth it. Every other talent is just kind of garbage. You don't want to go into the Nayuzao talents, and everything else just sucks. So I personally say this is the best talent tree. You can't really change it in PvP. It's just how it is. But moving on from there, PvP talents. So we have 3 talents. These are our main talents, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about this. You take these talents or you're griefing. 2 of them you should be playing every single game. 1 of them is interchangeable with only 1 other one. So the first one is Incendiary Breath. This is your Godsend talent. This is what makes Breath of Fire talents super good. You increase the radius and damage of Breath of Fire by 100%, and you cause a disorient. So the only problem here is you don't want to play with things that are going to break your disorient, or not necessarily break, but use the disorient CCDR. And while it looks like your cooldown is going to be increased by 100 is bad, a 30-second cooldown is something you can reset every 2 seconds. Who the hell cares? That part is non-existent now. So if you don't know, Breath of Fire radius now is about 25 yards, give or take a little bit. It's probably more like 22 yards. So you have a very long-range CC for literally no cost. You play this 100% of the time. The next talent you take 100% of the time is Avert Harm. So think of it like Guard in the past expansion, except you take the damage now, you stagger it, and then you purify it off. So about in a perfect world, 33% of the game, you should have Avert Harm on your team. 33% of your game, your team should have a 20% wall. It's super nice. And then the third one, so this is where I say the talent changes. Guided Meditation is what you play normally. Cooldown is reduced of Zen Meditation by 75%, and you soak casted abilities. So, the reason I say you play this, it puts your Zen Meditation down to a 56-second cooldown. So most casters, and I'm saying most because Destro Warlocks and Elemental Shamans do not count as casters, they are Cancer. But you can basically ignore Shadow Priest Go. You can ignore a big Mage Go. You can ignore basically every caster's Go by pressing a single button for your entire team. You will soak your entire team. I even play this into Hunters. As weird as that might sound, because, you know, Disarm would be really nice into them. But I play this on Hunters, and the reason is I can soak a trap. You can soak traps, you can soak fears, silences, asphyxiates, Hajas, you can soak clones, fears, every casted ability you can soak with this, so it's very nice. But you can also change it out for grapple weapon, obviously, just disarm, it's very nice. I've started playing this a bit more into Warriors, even if there is a caster in their team, just because Warriors do so much damage that it's worth just ignoring their damage for a little bit and letting the caster do a bit more damage. So that pretty much sums up Brewmaster talents. I mean, there's not much to it. It's super simple. And from there we go into gear. So you have 2 choices with Brewmaster gear. When you come to statting, you have literally only 2 choices. You can either go full verse crit, Or you can do what I do, which is a bit different than what anyone has ever done before, and I go a bit heavy into haste. There's two reasons for that. I play Mistweaver as well in both PvE and PvP, and I just like haste a lot when I play them. So my gear isn't necessarily optimized, but haste, there's a few quirks in it that people I don't think realize with Brewmaster. So haste will actually reduce the cooldown on Keg Smash and on Purifying Brew. That's really important because the more Purifying Brews you get off, the more your Celestial Brew will be in size. I mean, you take less damage, but the more brews you get off, the more haste you get off, the more Keg Smashes you get, which means you reduce all these cooldowns, and you get more Breath of Fires, and you get more damage. So it's just, I prefer haste. Crit is going to be better consistently. And this is the big thing. If you just want to play Brewmaster to have a good time, just go crit versatility. This is the most important thing. You just go crit versatility. There's no reason you should ever go haste unless you really know what you're doing, because crit will guarantee you get more kills. Haste means you're playing for the longer game, and Brewmaster does not like long games. So pretty simple. You're gonna hate my gear because I don't have enchants. I'm just gonna say it right now, I don't have embellishments. I don't care about any of that crap. I think it's all worthless in my opinion. But what we really want, because you have tier sets, people are going to be baited into going 4-set. So 4-set is very bad. You do not need the extra purifying stagger. It's just not important. So you really only need the 2-piece here. And the reason you only want the 2-piece is because you do get basically a 4% damage increase and a 4% damage incoming decrease. It's just all you really need. There's a few optimizations. Again, as I said, I go haste heavy, so I do go for shoulders and helmet. If you really want to be optimal, you would actually go for chest and leggings instead, if you just wanted the 2-piece and go for optimal damage. Now, obviously, if we look at my gear, I have verse mask neck. I have crit verse, cloak. I don't even have full epics because, again, I just hate my life. I do have crit verse bracers and then verse mask gloves, and then you start seeing the haste verse gear in the last 3. But the big change I make in PvP is I used to play double PvP rings. And obviously I take the haste verse ring instead of going for my mastery verse ring. I don't really think the crit verse ring is that useful. I think these stats are just better in general. As I said, it's my playstyle. It's not really something that everyone can perform on. But the one change I do is I play Seal of Diurna's Chosen, and that's because you're spamming so many Breath of Fires. And I mean an actual fuck ton of Breath of Fires that this will do about 12% of your damage on average. Just this ring alone. I only have the heroic version. Hopefully I can get the mythic one soon so I can do a bit more testing deeper when I'm hitting 7k instead of 6k, but that's just me. And then I'm still doing a little bit of testings with the enchants on the weapons. I do play the crit verse weapons. I've been playing double Frozen Devotions, and there's a reason for it. As you can see from my last game on details, Frozen Devotion was my 4th damage. If you look at it, it's hitting for 32k. It's pretty good. I don't necessarily think this is the correct thing to do, is playing Frozen Devotion at all, in fact. I actually think you should play more stat-heavy stuff. You should play like Sophic enchants so you get your stat buffs. Agility is really good in Brewmaster, so if you want to be optimal, I'd play double Sophic Devotions, just because they will help you a little bit more. But Frozen Devotion, it's kind of fun. As simple as it gets. It's just kind of fun. Outside of that, I mean, your rotations, that's the gear covered in general. I'm playing around with some other gear builds, but this is what's going to set you up for greatness. But we're looking at like rotations. So your rotation as a Brewmaster is very simple. Keep your Breath of Fire on cooldown. Keg Smashes on cooldown. If you have the global space, throw in a Chi Wave. If you don't, go back to what I just said. Keep your Rising Sun kick on cooldown. And blackout kick as much as you can so that your Keg Smashes hit more. It's really simple. It's not complex. There's nothing insane about it. Brewmaster is a very simple on paper spec. It's just very complex when you actually get into the deep dive of it. Moving on from rotation, we really have one other thing I really should be talking about. It's called your survivability and your defensive playstyle. So, in the past, Brewmaster is a very dampener spec, and that's just because of how the game's played out, how the game pace was, and all this. Brewmaster does not like dampening anymore. In fact, I think you really should not play Brewmaster if you're wanting to just play hard. It's very difficult, because the one problem with Brewmaster, and it's something people aren't going to get, you are not the carry. You are there to set up your carry. If your carry can't carry, you are not going to win. Simple as it gets. It's not a hard concept. It's not anything different. So you need to know how to live on your own, but you also have to know how to keep your team alive on your own. If you're playing this in solo queue, you're going to hate your life, because you're going to sit there and you're going to struggle. You are going to hate when your warlocks aren't porting, when your demon hunters aren't using blur, when your DKs aren't death striking, or your warriors aren't using retail, your healers are just running in like psychopaths and getting CC'd. Like, you're not going to enjoy your life. So your survivability is very niche. When you're trying to live, your expel harm is your greatest thing ever. So if you don't know as well, when you heal yourself with expel harm, you do 10% of that healing as damage around you. Expel harm can crit upwards of like 400k. So you can top yourself. So a 40k hit to everybody around you, that's pretty nice. It can be split, but still, a 40k hit is very nice. This button will save your life so many goddamn times. If you are low on health, you press it. If you are taking damage, you press it. You press this fucker like it's your goddamn kid. You want to stay alive. This will keep you alive. It's the reason I say you don't really have to play Vivify talents, because you're never going to really press Vivify. If you're pressing Vivify, the game's gone very, very off the deep end. As for survivability, you really only have a few defensives. You have your Fort Brew, you have your Nai's out, it can soak some damage for you, you have your Dampen Harm obviously for the big damage reductions, and then you have Diffuse Magic for your anti-mage and your casters in general. The one thing that I think people overlook is that Zen Meditation is actually your defensive. Even with all those extra talents, you do take 60% less damage the entire time. So even if you're soaking for your team, you're taking 60% less damage. If they're hitting you directly, you are taking 60% less damage. It is your most important thing. Now as for playstyle, I'm not really going to show any clips because I'm lazy. You can also look at my stream if you really want to. The stream is twitch.tv/vidsmvp. But you can see how I play. I play a very weird style, and this is just personally how I play. I believe I'm better than everybody else, and I prove it time and again just by how I play and how hard I can grind with little effort. As you know, I see from my rating, I am the highest on NA right now at 27-29. I don't really play. I play maybe 1 or 2 solo queues a week. I just get bored. I don't enjoy this bracket. I mean, we're 2200 CR as Brewmaster Hunter right now, and that's my favorite comp. I just enjoy playing KFG with more CC. So I always just play because I'm better than everybody, and that's why I like these specs like Brewmasters, because it's a skill expression. I firmly believe if you play with a tank that isn't named a Prot Pally or a Guardian Druid, to win a game, you have to prove you're better than the other team. You have to play better than the other team. You know, I'm going to sit here. I'll probably be 3k rated soon, and I still won't finish my Legend title. That's crazy. It's not because my spec's broken, it's because no one knows how to play around this. There are games where I solo people, and it's just how it is. So when it comes to your playstyle, you have your own choices. As I said, crit versatility is going to be your best stat priority, which means you can focus more on going for the kills. It's going to be your most consistent way to play. But if you want to try and mimic something that I do, copy my haste mastery verse build, then you can focus much more on the utility part. If you play League of Legends, how we've equated it is Brewmaster is like playing Lulu. You do some damage, but at the end of the day, you're just setting up your carry to kill for you. The big counter to Brewmaster as well, Marinas, and this is something you need to understand very quickly with it, it's casters. Brewmaster, as much as I hate to say it, sucks against casters. You can do stuff against them, you can live against them, but the reality is just stagger does not work as effectively, and there's a reason for that against magic. We even have a talent called Eerie Fermentation. It's more magical reduction based on stagger. Stagger was designed to counter physical damage, heavy burst damage. Things like Affliction Warlocks will fuck you up, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's just how it is. Brewmaster in itself is the perfect counter to like the Warrior, Demon, not Demon Hunter because they get Chaos damage, but kind of like the Warrior, Sub-Rogue, meta. Windwalkers struggle against Brewmaster. You can use your Breath of Fire to stop a lot of CCs that you wouldn't normally expect. In fact, there's a secret cheese that I'll talk about really quickly, and it's against Resto Druids. Most Resto Druids play the Inner Peace talent and the Tranquility talent build, where they just become a bubble, and you can't ring a piece them. Breath of Fire bypasses that and will CC them, so you can break that. It's a super nice cheese. It's very good. It has its niche uses, but that's just how Brewmaster is. It's something that no one really understands. But that's pretty much Brewmaster in a nutshell in PvP. I'm not going to go over any gameplay footage because, honestly, I don't really care. This is just a half-assed guide because I've been asked to do it multiple times now. I want to see more tank specs in PvP, honestly. I think they're very unique. You know, I already have a Blood DK on the grind because I think Blood is actually sleeper broken right now. But we'll get to that bridge when we get there. Now, I mean, why would you want to play Brewmaster? Honestly, I say don't. Honest to God. I don't think it's a fun spec to play if you aren't enjoying the spec. If you're playing this just because you think you can take, you know, the rank 1 Brewmaster spot from me, you're fried. Because if we just look at the ladder, you know, it's myself at 2730, and then you have Trill, who got up to 2500 and is now struggling to grind. And he's going, like, negative like, win losses now. And then you have Brewmasters, the highest one after that is 23, and then everyone is 21 below that. People are just struggling with it. I very rarely go below four wins, 2 losses. Most of the time, actually, I go 5-1, just because I know what I'm doing. But there are lobbies where I will literally go 0-6 because I can't carry it. You just get that one person in your lobby that you hate, and they don't know how to play it, where they deliberately want to troll you because you are playing something that's not the meta. You're just going to lose, and there's nothing you can do about it. Because again, you cannot carry people who don't want to get carried. So, if you don't thoroughly enjoy playing Brewmaster, don't even pick it up. If you want to just fuck around with it, have a good time, you know, try some things, maybe just pick up some points, because why not? Cap one day as a Brewmaster, because you don't want to lose your 2400 on your Windwalker or whatever, go play Brewmaster. But if you're honestly going to sit here and play this because you think it's broken, you're in for a wake-up call, because the spec is not meant for everybody. This is it's a very hard spec to pilot due to the nature of having to play for your team rather than your team play for you. But if you enjoy the spec, play it. I personally believe if you enjoy something, you should play it. This game is a game after all, so you should be having fun rather than sitting here and being a meta slave. So that pretty much covers the guide. If you ever want to watch any of this shit live, you can always find me at my stream. I'll post it in probably a description of this half-assed video, and yeah, that'll be it. So have a good day.